Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Fun fact, since the Switch is technically a portable system, the fact that they use land in the title works via the very arbitrary naming conventions Nintendo has given for themselves. I don't know why they are the way they are, but
Kirby and since it's a hybrid system, is it the Kirby and the Forgotten World land?
the Forgotten World Land, sure.
It's a little bit like Disney World and Disneyland, where Disney World is the big one and Disneyland is like the
small one,
the smaller sister park in another state. Yeah,
It is also weird though because Disneyland is the original. So
I mean, Super Mario Land did come out before Super Mario World.
Everybody always forgets that. Oh man, time for the fishing minigame that breaks everything.
come to think of it, that's also the naming order of the 3D Land and 3D World games. Land came out first.
Yeah, that one was definitely intentional though, considering that was Mario's the one that did it first. Yeah, I know that there's also like Donkey Kong Land. Those games I've never actually played.
Donkey Kong Land, those are. Well, the first one.
Those sure are games.
The first one was literally like a Game Boy port of Donkey Kong Country, though. So,
I thought that there was like an actual Game Boy port of Donkey Kong Country, like an actual
there's
port.
a Game Boy Advance port, but there's also Donkey Kong Land, which was Donkey Kong Country but 8-bit, and then the Donkey Kong Land sequels did their own thing, I think.
Yes,
Thank you for cutting past this, by the way. I love this fishing mini game, but you can only watch it for so long.
Yeah. This was.
It's also surprisingly difficult as well.
The last hit is always X. By the way,
I think I cut out a good solid 5 minutes of this.
Yeah. It's, I think, the fastest way to grind money, though, because once you get to a certain point, you start getting the high level fish more and more often, which means that you're going to be getting like 500 to 1,000 gold every like 30 seconds, which just is the fastest way to do it.
It is nice that they put that little fishing minigame distraction in the town, though.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really love about this game is Kirby games have always come with like a bunch of mini games. So that's not abnormal, but I'm just a real sucker for like coherence and everything making
context.
sense.
Yeah, context.
Yeah. And these sorts of things are just more charming when you put them into the world versus them just being in a menu.
One of the things that a video that I watched, I think it was King K, his Super Mario Sunshine retrospective review in particular. I think King K is the YouTuber. I might be getting that horribly wrong. He did a long Super Mario Sunshine video, and one of the things he talked about at length was immersion versus realism. Just immersion in the sense that even a game like Mario, or in this case Kirby, could achieve. And part of that is like, he explained it in a similar way, but this is my wording. Part of that is just like context, integrating everything into the game in a way that feels, like it can suck you in.
Yeah, that's just one of my favorite things about games in general is when everything feels like it makes sense. Not necessarily that it's realistic, but that it makes sense. And just the small stuff like keeping the mini games that you're normally associating with the franchise in world does a lot for that.
Yeah.
I'm also say hello to your boss killer ability until you get a Morphonite.
This kills bosses. I don't really use it all that much against bosses.
It does amazing dot damage, and it just does a lot of damage over time. Not so much from the flames, but just because you can just hold the button and just do a lot of damage. It's not the easiest thing to do, no damage, but it just kills them super quickly. You just don't care about getting a hit or two.
It's like fighting Infinite and Sonic Forces with Burst. Just boom, boom, boom. Hit him for half his health bar every time he comes down.
Yeah, I do believe the fire ability also has some like linger damage on it. So like it'll do a little bit.
If you set them on
damage.
fire, it does a lot of dot damage. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just never really like using. I've never really liked using fire for. I've never really liked using fire for bosses, mostly because you're so stationary when you do it, and it's like it's ranged, but you're just stuck in place. So unlike something like bomb, or cutter, you have to like stay still and keep on hitting it, which makes dodging super hard. I don't know if there's like dodge cancels or some shit that like you can dodge out of the attack in order for it to like work better. I don't know.
I wonder why they call these rare stones. Couldn't they have thought of like a more inventive name than that?
Apparently not.
I mean, I know Japanese anime stuff has an unusual fixation with the word rare, but
yeah, I got no clue. They
Tokyo
probably could
Tamai,
have
the world.
they probably could have come up with
Listed.
something better, especially considering that they have existing lore to work off of. In case you were unfamiliar, Kirby lore is way goddamn more involved than it has any right to be. And they absolutely could have come up.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm just like, so the little portals that you walk into in order to enter these things, those are like specifically the alternate world portals from Kirby's Return to Dreamland. So like they could have named it some after that or something, but they just kind of didn't.
wait, the time slow mechanic slows down the clear timer?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. I love when games do that shit. It does make like, if you're using that for speedrun stuff, things a little bit more awkward, but like whatever. I just think it's cool. But yeah.
Oh boy, this stage.
Oh, this stage is annoying.
This is one you definitely want to have. I personally used fire for it, but
I think you
The last one
need
would.
to do. I think you need to have hammer for some. No, you need blizzard, I believe.
no, you do need to. No, you need to use all of them for various waddles, but there's a way to get fire before the double frosty fight, which you have to.
Oh,
get a
that's the
Wildly,
one you
you
have to do with no damage, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Now, I know this
Yeah.
is like more of like a Londony city area kind of thing, but I am a sucker for those kind of like stone castles in the snow aesthetic.
Yo, yeah. This is also, since this is the boss rush level.
The obligatory hard version, yeah.
Yeah, but when I was playing the game for the first time, I wasn't able to find it, which was surprising to me because normally I'm pretty good at finding the secrets in these. It took until like looking it up online in order to find it, because I don't think you even need to find this like harder version in order to get all of the Waddle Dees.
Nope, you don't.
In it, you can
It's
just do it the
it's just
normal way.
there out of tradition.
So we were talking about the music in this earlier. I actually think that this track sucks.
It's very Spyro-y.
Like, yeah, but like Spyro has good quality music, and this sounds like some 8-year-old's Casio piano. In that they're just kind of like slamming on it instead of actually doing music. It just doesn't work for me, and I just found it irritating.
They're trying to be energized in a situation where I feel like,
Oh, you missed.
I don't know, this isn't really fitting.
Well, it's the boss rush stage, so that aspect of it makes sense at least. But with the I just think that the track's just not very good.
Well, the thing about boss rush stages is that unless you're fighting the bosses like one after the other with no breaks, like a frickin' Mega Man teleporter boss rush, there's usually a pretty slow paced middle in between every boss, and that's you kind of have that here, and they have the aesthetic for it. You know, that sort of energy ebb and flow that comes with that kind of stage, but.
I mean, this stage type is in literally every single Kirby game. Not all of them, but a lot of them basically have this same exact stage where it's, okay, you fight a boss, you do a little mini puzzle with that boss's ability. Okay, fight the next boss. It's in at least like 5 or 6 of them. What surprised me is how they weren't able to do the same exact hammer switch puzzle in 3D that's in every other Kirby game. Like they need to use that same puzzle every single game, and they didn't, and that just shocks me.
This is another one of those bosses where they share a health bar, isn't it?
Not exactly. They do, like, they show both health bars, but if you fight them each equally and whittle down their health both at the same time, they will then die at roughly the same time. Each one has their own amount of health. It's just shown both health bars are combined.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if you were to get into a position where you could damage them both at once, which doesn't look like an easy task to accomplish in this case.
Not with sword, or at least not with sword when you have damage, because you do have the Zelda energy beams if you're at max. But there are certainly bosses where that's possible.
Ah, I see. Okay, well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most. This isn't never the most interesting stage. The boss rush is always more fun to play than it is to watch.
Well, let's see.
Yeah. But anyway, now that you mentioned Mega Man is a series where I think having a boss rush theme would actually like help that part of the game a lot, and they never do it. So I always wonder why they've never done that, and instead they use the same 10-second boss battle theme every single goddamn time.
Mega Man, unfortunately, is a series that's kind of mired by tradition, and I don't mean to say that necessarily the things that the older games do are bad, but more that they kind of fall into that mindset where they have they really genuinely think people will fall off in droves if they don't complete the checklist. And
I'm not saying they should take out the boss rush. I'm just saying they should give it good music.
Yeah, I know. But the reason they do that, the reason that they don't mess with the way the boss rush plays or feels, is because they think that if they change something, people will not like the change just because it's a change. And, that's just kind of not true. I mean, there will always be people who see things as sacrosanct, but they're generally a minority.
Yeah. Honestly, it's I feel like, I don't know, especially considering how Mega Man always has all of these different series. I feel like that's part of the problem, in that, we don't want Mega Man X to change too much because, well, if they were going to do something different, they would make Mega Man Double X or, whatnot. Mega Man doesn't change in each individual series all that much, but the series are all very different. Nobody's going to say that Battle Network and Legends play similarly. They don't. They share some tropes and some common elements, but in general, the feel is very different. So I feel like that's why, they would never make a drastic change to Mega Man Classic or whatnot. I mean, that would also make them have to make another Mega Man game, which Mega Man 11 came out 2018 or something like that. So that was actually a pretty decent time ago. And that game did well, right? It sold pretty good. I don't know, man. Mega Man is just such a weird franchise for me, because considering how much in the gamer public conscious Mega Man is, the running joke back in the 2010s was that every Let's Player did a Mega Man 2 Let's Play, because it was
alongside
true.
Mario 64, yes.
Yeah, because it was true. Pretty much every Let's Player did do a Mega Man 2 Let's Play, but considering how how much it has this public presence, you'd think that Capcom would try to do more with the franchise, especially considering that the fact that Inafune is not on it doesn't really matter anymore from an optics perspective. I don't know, man. I just thought that they would try to do something. And considering that they already now have an engine for Mega Man and whatnot, you think that they would have done it, but they haven't. So, oh well.
I know people complain a lot about Capcom not doing things with Mega Man often, but to be honest, it's a game with it's a series with 11 games in it. I don't really think
that's true, but you also do have to remember that over half
6
of them
of those
released
came out
20 years ago.
20, try 30.
Yeah, but my point is, the only parts of the series that are actually starved for content are the sideshow attractions. Mega Man ZX never got its third game. Mega Man Legend never got its third game. And they were going places with those ideas. And I don't know. I guess I'd rather see them develop those things than just do the coward thing and constantly rehash the one classic series that saw all of the development that it ever needed and then some.
I get my mindset is always kind of just why not both, especially considering that the classic series is also
both would be good if they did both, but they're not doing both, so it's kind of a non sequitur.
Yeah, you also know that the fan reaction would be like, oh my god, why are you making Battle Network 7 when we haven't had a classic game in blah, blah, blah. When it's just all the Battle Network fans were like, why are you making a classic game when we haven't had a Battle Network in blah, blah, blah.
I think besides Legends, I think the longest route right now is now with the X series.
That one especially confuses me, considering that when they made Mega Man 8 and Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10, making an SNES Mega Man X 9? Yeah, is the easiest goddamn sell that you would ever make to Capcom execs, and they just never did it.
Is there substantial room for a Mega Man X game in between X and 0?
Yeah, because they already fucked up the storyline with X6.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, X8 just kind of ends.
It just kind of ends, yeah.
Did anyone actually like them doing that with X6? Because from what I understand, X6 and X7 are the black sheep of the family.
Yeah, but then when they made X8, they just kind of made it so that they could keep on doing stuff.
Yeah, so story-wise, there's plenty of room to keep it doing more because they already fucked it up. Zero's still around.
The reason I'm asking is because Mega Man 0 does give the character of X an endpoint. So
that's true, but it's also very disconnected from the X storyline. It's Zero left and then X got kidnapped, brainwashed, and I don't remember.
X used his own body to seal away, what was it, Dr. Vile, whatever, however you pronounce that.
So you could, but the only story in the X games themselves is Sigma. So you could, if you wanted to, make X games leading up to the point in 0 if you wanted to give that its own ending. My guess is because Capcom doesn't want to keep themselves from being able to make another X game in the future, they'd most likely just find some stupid way to bring Sigma back or make up a new bad guy so that they can make games until the end of time.
At the same time, if they're going to make something along the lines of an X game, I'd rather they finish the goddamn ZX series, because as troubled as that story is in places, it's also unfinished.
Lewis, why are you slandering me like this? Why are you showing off my failures? Over. This goddamn stage took me a half an hour.
It did, yes.
It's at the very end. Why would you do that? I think I just gave up. No, I did get all the Waddle Dees.
No, so you do. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do finish. I jumped through 2 failures just to give you a chance to address how annoying this goddamn objective was.
Oh yeah, Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Yeah, the best game in the franchise.
See, we don't need another one. There's Kirby Tilt and Tumble right home.
Oh man,
Kirby Tilt and Tumble at home. Waddle Dee.
First off, I'd like to point out that, as predicted, the BrainScratch curse does exist alive and well. Second off, I can't believe that they're frickin' bringing Kirby Tilt and Tumble to the Switch, and with the motion controls still working. So no longer will you have to hold your GameCube upside down and press the A button with your foot if you want to experience the true Kirby Tilt and Tumble gameplay that you've been looking for.
What?
So,
Kirby Tilt and Tumble is coming to the Game Boy NSO expansion.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you wanted to play Kirby Tilt and Tumble on the Game Boy player, the way that the cartridge is shaped, and the way that the Game Boy player is set up, because the motion control's in the cartridge itself.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's in the cartridge itself. So you, with the way that the GameCube and the Game Boy player is like set up, you have to hold the GameCube upside down in order to actually tilt it. And the GameCube's pretty damn heavy. Like, it's for its size, it's a dense motherfucker.
Yeah,
so holding
the Game
it with
Boy
one
player
hand
itself adds substantially to its size.
Yeah, so like you can't really hold it with one hand to press the A button on the other hand with your other hand. So the easiest way to play Kirby Tilt and Tumble on the Game Boy player is to hold the GameCube with both of your hands and then put your controller on the floor and press the A button with your big toe whenever you need Kirby to jump. It's awful. Do not do it.
Did the first guy just taunt you?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's Mr. Frosty's things. He's been shaking his ass at you since the NES game. Also, these goddamn like energy drinks that you can buy are overpowered as all hell.
Yes, they are.
They increase your damage by a lot. So if you're ever having any trouble with anything, do
I
that.
think there are also elemental weaknesses. I think these guys are specifically weak to fire.
Yeah, I just wanted something ranged because I was being a wussy baby. So I wanted to take advantage of the ranged slashes on the sword.
Using range damage to avoid taking hits yourself is, just smart. That's just how you do it.
I could have, if you unlocked it a little bit earlier, I would have also probably have used the laser gun as well.
The entire early game in Baldur's Gate is kiting the enemy around and peppering them with arrows because one hit from their sword will probably take out all your health. And you heal at a rate of 1 HP per night when you rest.
Oh no. What's your max HP in Baldur's Gate when you start off?
When you start off at level 1, you're probably going to have maybe at max 12 HP.
I mean, still though, I guess that makes sense considering that when you think about it, when you get stabbed, you lose 4 health and you're not going to sleep off a stab wound overnight. So, you know what? I guess I can't complain that much about how Baldur's Gate does it.
4 health is what you start off with as a mage. Also, 1 spell per day as a generalist, 2 if you're a specialist. But then you might not have all the combat spells.
Oh man, reading a book's hard.
Of course, if you want to have 2 spells per day, you could always start as a wild mage. Of course, then you have a random chance of your spell backfiring and turning you into a chicken.